In the shadow of a potential World War III, do you ever wonder what the consequences could be? What if the unthinkable were to happen? A conflict on a global scale where nations are forced to pick a side, where alliances are tested, and where the very essence of humanity hangs in the balance. Imagine two distinct sides emerging from the chaos. On one side, we have the United States, the United Kingdom, NATO, and Israel. These nations, bound together by shared values of democracy, freedom, and global cooperation, represent a beacon of hope amidst the turmoil. Their advanced weaponry, technological superiority, and strategic alliances form a formidable front aimed at maintaining peace and stability. On the other side, we find Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. These nations, with their vast military might, regional influence, and geopolitical ambitions, pose a significant challenge. Their authoritarian regimes and ideological agendas contrast starkly with the democratic principles upheld by their opponents. The tension between these two sides is palpable. It's a complex dance of military capabilities, defense strategies, and political motives. But beyond that, it's about the moral implications of choosing sides in a potential global conflict. Who are the defenders of freedom and democracy? And who are the aggressors threatening global security and human rights? As we delve deeper into this potential conflict, we'll explore these questions. We'll examine the military strengths, the strategic maneuvers, and the political chessboard. We'll navigate through the fog of uncertainty and fear, shedding light on the choices that could shape the fate of humanity. This is not just about nations and their armies. It's about us, the people of the world. It's about how we choose to align ourselves, what principles we stand for, and how we respond to the threats that challenge our shared humanity. As we traverse this fog of war, let's explore the two potential sides in this looming conflict. Together, we'll try to make sense of a world on the brink and hopefully find a way forward towards peace and stability. On the battlefield, power often determines the victor. So who holds the upper hand? In the chess game of global conflict, military capabilities serve as the pieces on the board. Let's first turn our gaze to option 1, USA, UK, NATO, and Israel. These nations are renowned for their advanced weaponry and technological superiority. The United States, for instance, has long been a leader in military innovation, boasting an arsenal that includes stealth bombers, unmanned drones, and a vast fleet of advanced warships. Similarly, the United Kingdom and Israel are particularly noted for their cutting-edge cyber warfare capabilities, which provide a potent shield against digital threats. In contrast, we find the formidable military might of option 2, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. These nations, while perhaps not as technologically advanced, compensate with sheer force and numbers. Russia, for instance, has the world's largest tank fleet, while China boasts the largest standing army. Iran and North Korea, meanwhile, have developed robust missile programs, serving as a stark reminder of their ability to project power beyond their borders. But military power is not solely about the number of tanks or the sophistication of weaponry. It also hinges on the ability to coordinate and utilize these assets effectively. Here, the strategic alliances of option 1 come into play. NATO, or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is a prime example of this. Comprising 29 nations, NATO not only provides a unified front, but also facilitates joint military exercises, enhancing interoperability and fostering a sense of shared defense. This unity is a force multiplier, amplifying the military capabilities of individual nations through collective action. On the other hand, option 2 also has its alliances and partnerships, but these are often more regional and less institutionalized. China and Russia, for example, have increased their military cooperation in recent years, conducting joint exercises and signing agreements for military technical cooperation. Iran and North Korea, too, have been known to collaborate on missile technology. However, these alliances, while significant, lack the formal structure and long-standing trust found in NATO. Furthermore, another crucial aspect to consider is the global influence each side wields. Option 1, with its commitment to democracy and international norms, has a broad network of allies and partners across the globe. Option 2, however, despite its military power, has fewer friends on the world stage, limiting its ability to project power and influence events beyond its immediate sphere of influence. In conclusion, while both Option 1 and Option 2 possess formidable military capabilities, the scales may tip due to strategic alliances and global influence. It's a complex game of power and strategy, where the pieces are constantly moving and the stakes are incredibly high. As we can see, both sides are formidable, but the scales might tip due to strategic alliances. In war, defense can be as crucial as offense, but how do the two sides stack up? Let's dive in and examine the defense strategies of our two factions, Option 1 and Option 2. Option 1 brings together the USA, UK, NATO, and Israel, forming a formidable defense shield. With NATO at its core, this alliance thrives on collective defense mechanisms and joint military exercises. NATO's Article 5, an all-for-one clause, states that an attack on one member is an attack on all. This principle has been the bedrock of their defense strategy for many years, fostering a sense of unity and mutual protection among member nations. They also conduct regular military exercises to test and improve their readiness, ensuring that they're always prepared for potential threats. On the other hand, we have Option 2, comprising Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. Their defense strategies are a bit more complex and varied, given the diverse political landscapes of these nations. However, one common thread is the strong emphasis on missile defense systems. These countries boast some of the most advanced missile technology in the world, which they see as a vital deterrent against potential aggression. They also rely heavily on regional alliances for defense, leveraging their influence in their respective geographical areas. But defense is not just about military power, it's also about strategic positioning. For Option 1, the wide geographic spread of their alliance provides them with a global reach and the ability to respond quickly to threats anywhere in the world. In contrast, Option 2's countries are more regionally concentrated, giving them a strong defensive position in their respective areas, but potentially limiting their global reach. So, there you have it. Two alliances, each with their own defense strategies, shaped by their unique political landscapes and military capabilities. While both sides have their defenses up, the geopolitical landscape could play a significant role in their strategies. In the grand chessboard of world politics, motives and agendas often drive alliances. So what's really at play here? Let's start with Option 1, the United States, the United Kingdom, NATO, and Israel. These nations share a common thread of values that often reflect the essence of democracy, human rights, and global cooperation. They stand united not only by their military alliances, but also by their shared commitment to democratic principles and the rule of law. These nations believe in the power of diplomacy, international norms, and multilateral institutions, seeing these as essential tools for maintaining global peace and stability. Yet, these shared values are not merely platitudes. They are the bedrock of their foreign policies and defense strategies, driving their collective efforts to safeguard democracy and human rights. These nations are often seen as the torchbearers of freedom, standing on the front lines to protect the values they hold dear, even in the face of mounting geopolitical tensions. But let's not forget about the other side of the coin. Option 2, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. These countries, while formidable in their military might, have different political motives. They are driven by geopolitical ambitions, often fueled by their authoritarian regimes and ideological agendas. Russia and China, for instance, are seen as attempting to reshape the global order, pursuing strategies that often challenge Western hegemony. They prioritize national sovereignty and non-interference in their internal affairs over the universal application of human rights. Iran, on the other hand, is driven by its ideological commitment to the Islamic Revolution, while North Korea's isolationist policy and nuclear ambitions reflect its unique political agenda. These nations, while diverse in their political systems and ideologies, are unified by a common objective to challenge the status quo and assert their influence on the global stage. Their actions often stir controversy, raising critical questions about global security, human rights, and democratic principles. However, it's important to remember that the world isn't merely black and white. It's a complex tapestry of grays where political motives and agendas often intertwine with national interests and geopolitical realities. While Option 1 may stand as the beacon of democracy and freedom, it doesn't mean they are always right. Similarly, while option 2 may pose challenges to global stability, it doesn't necessarily make them the villains of this narrative. In this high-stakes game of political chess, every move matters. Each decision, each alliance, each strategy forms part of a bigger picture, shaping the dynamics of global politics and the contours of potential conflict. And as the pieces move across the board, the world watches, waiting to see how this game will unfold. With such divergent political agendas, it's clear that this is not just a battle of military might, but also of ideologies. In the face of potential war, moral implications cannot be ignored. But who are the good guys here? The concept of morality is complex, especially in the context of international affairs, yet it is an essential compass guiding us through the fog of war. Let's delve into the moral underpinnings of the two sides of this looming conflict. Option 1, comprising the USA, UK, NATO, and Israel, presents itself as a beacon of democracy and freedom. They champion human rights, global cooperation, and international norms. This alliance believes in the power of collective defense, joint military exercises, and strategic alliances to maintain peace. They stand as a symbol of unity, echoing the values that many of us cherish. Their actions reflect a commitment to preserving the principles of a free world. On the surface, this paints them as the good guys, but it's essential to remember that no side is without flaws. The moral high ground is often a slippery slope. While they advocate for democracy and freedom, their methods can sometimes be questioned. Yet their overarching goal remains to protect and foster these values on a global scale. Contrastingly, option 2, consisting of Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, is often painted as the bad guys. They are seen as aggressors, purportedly threatening global security and disrupting the balance of power. Their geopolitical ambitions, authoritarian regimes, and ideological agendas often clash with the democratic principles held dear by many. However, it's crucial to note that this narrative is not entirely black and white. There are shades of gray that blur the lines between good and evil. Each side believes in the righteousness of their cause, driven by their own moral compass. As we navigate these waters, it's crucial to remember that the choice isn't just about picking sides. It's about aligning with the values that resonate with us, the principles we believe in, and the world we want to shape. As we've seen, the choice isn't merely about alliances, but also about defending principles we hold dear. As we stand at the precipice of this potential conflict, it's crucial to understand the choices before us. As we've journeyed through this exploration, we've looked at the two sides of a possible World War III. On one side, we have the USA, UK, NATO, and Israel, and on the other, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. We've delved into their military capabilities, where we saw the advanced weaponry and technological superiority of the first group and the formidable military might of the second. We've examined their defense strategies, from the collective defense mechanisms and joint military exercises of the first option to the missile defense systems and regional alliances of the second. The political motives that drive these alliances have been brought to light. The shared values of democracy, human rights, and global cooperation are the fuel that powers the first group. In stark contrast, the second group is driven by geopolitical ambitions, authoritarian regimes, and ideological agendas. We've also navigated the moral complexities of choosing sides in such a situation. On one hand, we have the beacon of democracy and freedom, the defenders of international norms, the so-called good guys. On the other, we have the aggressors, those threatening global security, human rights, and democratic principles, the so-called bad guys. But the world isn't black and white. It's a complex tapestry of grays, and it's within these grays that we must find our way, using critical thinking and ethical considerations as our compass. It's not enough to simply label one side as good and the other as bad. We must delve deeper, understand the nuances, and make informed decisions. The stakes are high. The consequences of this potential conflict could be far-reaching and devastating, affecting not just the nations directly involved, but the entire global community. The fate of humanity could very well hang in the balance. So as we stand on this precipice, looking out into the unknown, it's important to remember that the choices we make today could shape the world of tomorrow. They could determine the kind of world we leave for future generations. And these choices aren't just for the politicians and the generals. They're for each and every one of us. Whether it's through the ballot box, peaceful protests, or simply engaging in informed conversations, we all have a role to play. We all have a voice that deserves to be heard. We all have a responsibility to stand up for what we believe in, for what we think is right. Ultimately, the choice is ours to make. As we navigate these tumultuous times, remember, the fate of humanity may hang in the balance. So let's make sure we choose wisely. Let's make sure we choose a path that leads us towards peace, towards understanding, and towards a better world for all. That leaves us with only one choice to make. Whose side are you on?